Hello, and welcome back, everybody. It's been a while since my last video, so I apologize for that, but I'm glad to be back here with this one today. In this video, I was doing this vehicle, and what the owner explained to me was that they had just recently bought this car from an old man who was no longer driving, and so obviously there was a dog who was basically living in this car. Is kind of what it looked like based off of when I first showed up. When the customer first called me, they mentioned there was a lot of dog hair, so that's what I was expecting. And then I showed up, and it was just dirt absolutely everywhere. And fortunately, they were able to get most of the dog hair out, which made my job a lot easier. And so I was really glad that they did that because it definitely sped things up quite a bit. But as you can see here, the seats were very bad. Just lots of stains and just lots of dirt. And so you could probably see that I treated this twice, and then I started extracting, and you can just see all of the dirt coming out. And fortunately, this was one of the jobs where I showed up and I looked at it and I thought, here we go again, add this to the book of the long list of jobs that I've underbid. But fortunately, this one did cooperate with me pretty well. It didn't, I mean, there were some extra steps, and I'll talk about those in a second, but it didn't end up taking too much longer, so I was glad to see that. And when I showed up, there were the bare carpet of the floor was just very poor condition for that. And normally the bare carpet I don't clean unless it absolutely needs it. And so what I mean by that is I'm not going to shampoo the floor every time, because a lot of my customers, they have floor mats and underneath it doesn't really need it. So typically what I'll tell them is that I will not shampoo the floors. I'll shampoo the seats and the floor mats. And then if there's stains on the floor, typically I'll just kind of take the steamer and spot treat it or whatever. So if there's specific stains on there, it's much easier to do with the steamer. And the reason is because the carpet on the floors is much thinner, and it's not very flat most of the time. There's all these curves, and it's difficult for my tools to get those spots very well. So that's typically what I do. But as you can see here, it was very bad, dirt everywhere, and so I told them that it was inevitable. I mean, I couldn't just leave the floors how bad it was, because there was just so much dirt caked in and crusted in. In the passenger side, where I'm guessing the dog was for the most part next to the driver, because that seat was the worst and the floor was the worst. But on that side, the floor was just caked. It looked like tar. I mean, if you look at this and zooming in, it just looks absolutely horrible. But as you can see here on the floor, I sprayed my stuff and I agitated it, and I had to break out the steamer in a few different spots. And this is just so much dirt and just mud basically pulling out of here. And so at the end of the day, when I was finished, there was probably some stuff still in there, but at least it was much more presentable. I probably would have been on this all week long if I was trying to get every single thing perfectly, but that would have made the cost of the details skyrocket as well. So I feel like I was able to deliver a good value to the customer, because there was just so much stuff that I pulled out, and at least it looked and smelled much better after the fact. So that was what I did. I vacuumed everything and shampooed, and I just spent a lot of time steaming, especially these floors. And then, of course, just sucking out as much of this brown juice. I do have another video coming up pretty soon, though, of a vehicle that I went out to today that was full of dog hair everywhere. So if you like those kinds of videos, just keep an eye out for that. One thing I did forget to mention about this one is that before I started extracting, I mean, you could just looking at it, you could see there was just so much dirt and dust and grime and dog stuff, who knows, so much stuff. And so what I did is, aside from just vacuuming, because there's so much embedded in the fibers of the carpets, I have a tool, and I need to include it in one of these videos one of these days. But what it does is it blows air and it vacuums at the same time. So it's got like a little cone, and then it blows air to pull all of the dirt out, and it vacuums it at the same time, sucks it out. So that was one thing I did to try and get out as much of the dry dirt as I possibly could. Otherwise, it would just be mud, which is kind of what I was dealing with here. So I don't know how well it works, but hopefully it at least made this job a little easier. But as you just saw there, I had to steam that part to break up the dirt in the floor over there. Moving on to the seat here, you can see that I am spraying my solution all over the place, and I had to be pretty liberal with this, and then just kind of agitating it and let it sit for a second. I do this every time. So every once in a while I get people commenting on my video saying, oh, what about this part of the seat that you missed? I do the whole seat, don't worry. Typically though, the back sides of the seats are not as dirty because people's bottoms aren't sitting on those. And so I do clean them. I normally just don't film it because it's not as satisfying to see. And so that goes for the sides of the front and sides of the seats as well. But as you can see here, the bottom of the seat is by far the worst part and the most satisfying to watch. And even just looking at this now, you can see how much cleaner it looks. And I could keep doing this and keep pulling stuff out. And at the end of this detail here, there were some stains that didn't come out, but you'll see at the pictures at the end that it, by and large, it looked much better, just 100 times better. And given that this vehicle, I don't remember what year it was, but I did see that it did have like 140,000 miles on it, so it had its mileage on it. And with a dog, practically living in here, there's a lot of stuff. These stains are the ones I'm talking about. For example, I tried to steam them to break them up, but it just didn't do a whole lot. You can see that I'm pulling something out, but the stain isn't really moving a whole lot, unfortunately. So I had to explain that to the customer, and she wasn't too worried about that because she basically had a brand new car. This seat, like I was talking about, was the worst one, the passenger seat. So I had to just put a ton of solution on here and just let it sit and agitate it with the drill brush. And yeah, I basically put a lot more than I normally do because drastic times call for drastic measures or something like that. But as you can see here, as I start extracting it, there is just so much dirt in here. It's just really, really gross. But it's fun for you to watch. And the reason I haven't had a lot of videos lately is because, one, we're just coming out of winter, heading into spring and summer, which I'm very excited about. But the demand in the winter died down quite a bit. It was pretty significant. And two, the other thing is that, yeah, look how gross that is. The other thing is that when I'm on a job, maybe it's late in the day, it takes time for me because I have to pull out my phone, set it up, and then film it. It takes time to do that, which mainly extends the length of the job. The job's going to take longer. So I'm not always thrilled to do that unless I know it's going to make for a good video. So when I saw this one, I started doing the work and I thought, what am I doing? I need to start filming this. So I pulled out my phone and started recording this. But you can see on this seat I did twice just because I knew after the first pass, still so much stuff was coming out, so that I said, I know I'm going to need to do this again. Every once in a while, if I get seats that are kind of lighter colored, sometimes I'll do seats and then the stains will kind of either come back when it dries, or when it dries, it gives you a little more clarity as to how clean they actually are. So, for example, the truck I was doing today with all this dog hair, once I got all the dog hair out of the way, I extracted all the seats, and the driver's seat was pretty dirty, and I said, man, I can't let that go, so I have to do it again. And so I did it again, and the stains weren't moving at all, and I wasn't even really pulling stuff out either. So I knew at that point it was mainly just wear and tear. It just kind of looked not very good, but the customer didn't care all that much because he was mainly worried about the dog hair, and I got most of that for him, and he was happy about that. But as you can see, this seat already looks so much better. There's a few stains, in there that you can see, but again, by and large, the seat comes out much, much cleaner. And if for nothing else, I think these customers have peace of mind because I'll typically show them how much stuff I'm pulling out, and it's pretty gross. But you can see here also I broke the steamer out trying to attack those stains specifically and just break up as much dirt as I possibly could out of those seats. So I did that for a little bit too. In this vehicle, I'll show you at the end. Stay tuned for the end of the video because I'll show you what I was able to pull out. And I actually got 2 buckets of this chocolate milk juice, gross stuff. I filmed the first one, but I didn't the second one. And the second one was darker and more dirty because that was from all the carpet. The bare carpet was much, much worse than the seats. The bare carpet, you could probably just do that for eternity and just continue to pull stuff out without, but I did the best I could without ripping the seats out and pulling the carpet out. And pressure washing it. I know some people go kind of crazy with that kind of stuff. I don't do that. I leave the seats where they're at, and I do the best I can with what I've got. Mainly for liability reasons. I don't want to be taking seats out and putting them back in and that kind of a thing. But as you can see with this seat, I've already gone over it twice, and a third time with the steamer, and still so much stuff is getting sucked out of there. But it looks so much better than it did initially. And in just a minute here, you'll see what I was talking about when I was talking about how bad the front passenger's floor was. Here we go. So this was interesting. I hadn't really seen this before. As I was spraying my cleaning solution on here, I loosened that to get more solution out. But you can't really see it from this angle, but it was really kind of just muddy. Right there in the middle, there was just so much dirt there that it's kind of straight mud. And you'll see it, I mean, just straight, gross black juice. Sorry for saying juice so much, but I mean, I don't know how else to describe this. But here I go, shampooing and extracting all of this, and I knew that this one was going to be a while. When I did this, I did decide to shampoo the whole area and then steam one half and extract that half with the steam, just to kind of gain some perspective. So you'll see that here. I pulled out the steamer and you'll notice that when I use the steamer, it does a very good job of breaking up the dirt. And anytime I use the extractor after that, it is very dark. It's almost just black, just straight dirt that comes through the extractor. And so you'll see here in a minute as I am able to steam that left side, the comparison between the left and the right. And again, when I showed up and saw these floors, these carpets, I knew it was just probably the worst carpets I've ever seen in my life, in my detailing days, my career. But I definitely spent some time on here because I knew that it was important. The homeowner or the vehicle owner said that was one of the biggest concerns, so I knew I had to do a good job to take care of that. Sorry about this. I started the video again, and I guess I forgot to zoom out all the way, so we're stuck with short videos for a second. But you can see, hopefully you can see the difference between the left and the right. And of course, I had to do the right side after. But by the end, it looked much, much better than what it did in the beginning. If you're still watching this, I applaud you for sticking in for 12 minutes. If you are still watching, I'd like to ask you a simple question. What kind of videos do you like? Do you like the extracting videos? Do you like the leather cleaning videos? Do you like the dog hair videos? Let me know what kind of videos you'd like to see from me and in what format. How long of a video do you typically like to see? Or do you like music in the videos, or just me talking, or do you want me to just shut up? Let me know all that kind of stuff in the comments, because I'd like to kind of amp up this channel again, just put stuff out there so that people who enjoy watching this kind of stuff can watch it. But this one, nothing too gross. If you haven't seen my other videos yet, be sure to check those out after you finish this one. I have one where a dog diarrheaed in the back of the car. That was a fun one. Or there's another one where I was cleaning hot Cheeto throw up. I didn't know what it was at the time, but lots of fun stuff. Just go check that out up in my videos, and let me know what kind of videos you like best. But as you can see here, back to this car, I was pulling out so much dirt and so much stuff that this side, the carpet started to look black again instead of brown, which was very good. Of course, after I finished extracting, I had to wipe down all of the panels, the windows, the doors, all of that stuff, the door jambs. So I had to do all of that stuff too. But that stuff wasn't as bad. I mean, the bulk of the work in this car was just in shampooing and steaming to try and get it as good as absolutely possible. But a tip for all you pet owners out there, keep your pets out of your car. After doing this vehicle and the one with all the dog hair today that I did, it's very hard to do. And like I said, this customer here, they told me that they spent a lot of time trying to get all the dog hair out, and it looks like they did a good job because I didn't have to deal with very much. And my customer today, he also mentioned that he had tried to do it, but it just wasn't really working, so he called me. And so it is a lot of work. Most people don't realize this. I mean, you don't realize watching how much work it is until you try it yourself. And we're just about at the end of the video. In just a second, I'll show you the pictures and then also the the stuff I was able to pull out of this car. So to start with the pictures, I always start by the detail by taking pictures, and this helps me see how much progress I'm making along the way as well. But there you go, before, after. That's some wear and tear there. I wasn't able to do anything about that. This is that side, and then it's much darker. There's still some stuff there, but like I said, this is the first of 2 buckets that I got of this stuff, which was very, very gross. And thanks for sticking around.